Up in a crumbling, silent castle, a hooded man lay on a ruined bed. He was a creature of darkness, quiet as the grave, sleeping through the day. By night, this man transformed into a hellish beast, a bloodthirsty, violent behemoth. This was no ordinary killer. This was a monster, known only in whispers as the Walker. A creature with dagger teeth, matted hair, and claws that could shred flesh and bone. For years, the people of London dismissed the Walker as a myth, like Bigfoot or Dracula, a simple scarecrow to enforce the curfew. But on the fateful night of June 21st, 1932, the myth came calling. June 21st, 1932. Samuel Renfeld, a weary investigator wearing a hat and handkerchief to hide from the murderous political extremists known as the White Shadow, met a nervous informant. Samuel desperately sought information on the murderer, Jacob Stanson. "Just one spot of tea in exchange for information on Jacob Stanson," Samuel pleaded. The informant was terrified, not of Stanson, but of the time of their proposed meeting, 9:30 p.m. "That is past sundown," the man whispered. "The Walker comes out past sundown." Samuel dismissed the fear as a childish joke used to enforce curfew. He pressed the man for details, learning that Stanson had been linked to a nearby castle, the same one rumored to house the Walker. They finally agreed to meet later that night in an abandoned building used as a secret investigator's refuge. The White Shadow Rebellion had scarred Samuel years earlier, destroying his office and killing his colleagues. Now the terror resurfaced. The informant arrived early, gripped by fear of the night streets. As they talked about Stanson, the discussion turned back to the mythic creature. Samuel's informant described a strange recent pattern of victims. Bodies found bloodless, boneless, and empty, split in half by a massive, impossible laceration. It was a brutality beyond human capacity. Soon after the informant left, Samuel was jolted awake in the middle of the night by a terrifying sound, thudding on the roof. He saw an inhuman figure running along the rooftops, its eyes reflecting the moonlight. Moments later, a Molotov cocktail shattered his window. The White Shadow had found their refuge. Samuel fled, running past his burning home and through the alleys, exposing his face and identity to the city. The next morning, his friend Marcus Shane was found severely burned in the ashes, muttering his last words before dying in Samuel's arms. Nearby lay a corpse mutilated in the same brutal, inhuman manner, split down the middle, empty of organs and blood. Samuel recognized the victim, his informant. The myth was real. For the next few days, Samuel lived in the alleys, starving and pursued by people with violent intent. The White Shadow knew his face. On the night of June 26, 1932, the horror reached its peak. Just before midnight, blood-curdling screams and roars tore through the night. Samuel ran into the street and witnessed the truth of the myth. A massive, hairy creature atop a building. The beast bounded down, splitting civilians in half with its claws, devouring their organs and bones, and leveling buildings with careless ease. It was a whirlwind of bloody carnage. Samuel charged back to the ashes of his former home and found his old, loaded revolver. 6 bullets against a monster. He took 2 shots, hitting the creature in the arm and then the leg, slowing its rampage. Finally, with his last bullet, he aimed for the head. The enormous, 9-foot creature shrieked, then flew toward him, collapsing on top of him. It was dead. The Walker, the beast that had caused all the bloodless, boneless deaths, lay still. The single stray hair found at an earlier crime scene was explained. The nightmare was over. In the aftermath, Samuel was numb, covered in the beast's blood, and suffering from shock. A kind man approached him and offered him shelter, a hot meal, and a bath. Sitting at the table, savoring his first good meal in days, Samuel walked into the bathroom. Relief washed over him. The terror was over. The city was silent. Then the door opened. Standing in the doorway wearing a white mask was the man who had just offered him sanctuary. There's a bang. The final death was not by the beast, but by the very human threat Samuel had been hiding from all along.